Hello, everybody. This is Pastor Cedrick of Commitment Church, and I am blessed to have with me today one of our elders, Elder Marc. Matter of fact, one of our founding members of our church here at Commitment, and he actually is our financial director. So I've asked him to join me, or I'm actually joining him, to talk a little about financial stewardship and why we should give, how we should give, and things like that. Especially during this pandemic time, I'm sure you may have some questions as relates to why and even how you can give during this particular climate. So if we could begin there, if you don't mind. We know that the Bible commands us to give, right? And we can give you chapter and verse and talk about Malachi, talk about scriptures in Corinthians and so forth to inspire us to understand why to give. But at Commitment, we just want to bring out about 3 points to you as it relates to answering the question, why give? Why should you give to the work here at Commitment Church? Well, the first thing I think we have on the deck is understanding that we have a responsibility with the Great Commission, right, Marc?
Absolutely. And spreading the gospel of Jesus Christ has always been at the center of what we do. It will always be at the center of what we do. Yeah. But if we don't have the resources, yeah. it hinders our ability to do that. Yeah. So the idea is that expediting the Great Commission unhindered, you know, having finances allows us the ability to be able to do that.
Absolutely. And again, you know, we have been, by God's grace, for 25 years next year, been able to fulfill the Great Commission here at Commitment, reaching all nations with the gospel of Jesus Christ. But at the end of the day, there have been times we've been hindered, right? Yeah, hindered in advancing the gospel of Jesus Christ and fulfilling the Great Commission. So we just want to encourage you today, as you give, our goal is to expedite the Great Commission through us uniquely. And as we spend more time together, we'll start featuring particular ministries and things like that to at least nail down the ways that we are actually fulfilling the Great Commission. But then the second answer to the question why is to serve. Well, we want to serve the least of these. Matter of fact, we actually have a ministry called the Least of These, the Lot Ministry here at Commitment. And the goal is to ultimately care for those that Jesus says, when you do it unto the least of these, you have done it unto me. And again, it comes down to being able to serve people unhindered, right? Yeah. Just recently, we had the wonderful privilege of giving out over 300 turkeys. I think Pastor Ken reported back to us, to some folks in Camden, some folks locally, and that is unhindered work as relates to those who are, you know, maybe downtrodden, struggling, and things like that, and are in need for whatever reason. You want to add to that?
Yeah, Pastor Cedrick, I just think from the very beginning, a big part of who we are as a church is to be able to help people who are just in need. And you think about people that don't have enough food to eat. You think about parents who don't have money to pay for clothes for their children to go to school, or school books, or whatever you have. I just feel like God has really placed that on our hearts as a ministry to be able to just genuinely help people in their lives, to be able to do life, live life. So, you know, serving the least of these obviously is important, but then going back to that word unhindered.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, because sometimes we may be able to help some of the people, but I think God wants us to be able to help as many people as possible.
Absolutely.
And ultimately that's sharing that, which is God's love. Is what's going to, you know, bring people to Christ.
And as a church from the very beginning, if you didn't know, some of you have been with us for a very long time. Some are just becoming a part of Commitment and even supporting the work of Commitment. One thing that we've always desired is to have our hands out, not to receive as a church, but our hands out to give and to serve. And so, again, we want to serve those that are in need unhindered, and especially during this climate. There's more and more people that have severe needs, actually, and we want to be able to serve them unhindered. And then lastly, the third answer to the question why you should give is that we want to multiply churches among all people. And our desire is to have other Commitment Community Church campuses, other Commitment Community Church locations, and And honestly, again, we can't do that
Yeah.
without your generous gifts and your continuous gifts, being faithful in this,
Yeah.
so that again, this can be what? Unhindered. And as you're probably hearing, we've mentioned the word unhindered several times, because we've come to realize that, and I'm sure it's mathematics 101 in any household, even in the house of God. If you don't have the resources, you can't do the things that are on your heart to do. And God has placed on our heart, and actually commanded us, to multiply His church. So our desire is to multiply other churches, and by God's grace, we are. Matter of fact, we have a church now,
Yep.
by God's grace, in Colombia,
Yep.
South America. So, and we want to continue to touch other places in South America. God is raising up opportunities in the Pennsylvania area. Some of you know we used to have a campus in Wilmington, Delaware, but God still wants us to do work in Wilmington, Delaware, and even locally in South Jersey, Central Jersey, Northern Jersey, wherever God has called us to be in His tri-state area.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. And the only thing I would add is that I think we're at a place where we just want to be wherever God wants us to be.
Yeah.
And again, being able to not be hindered by finances
Yeah.
allows us to do that, whether it's here in Linden, Walden, you mentioned several other places,
Yeah.
but globally.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know,
we have a missionary in South Africa,
yeah.
Joyce Ray, that we support, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and we want to do more.
Yeah,
You know?
yeah. Well, and then when you add in the component of technology,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah,
you know,
that's
we have an online campus as well.
That's right. I forgot.
So again, that
Yeah.
allows us to globally,
Yeah.
you know, reach, you know, millions of people.
Yeah,
You know,
absolutely.
however many people are
Yeah.
are on the planet, right? But
Yeah.
we just don't want to be hindered
Yeah.
by anything. And of course, the finances are what allows us
Absolutely.
to do
Absolutely.
unlimitedly what
Yeah.
God wants us to do.
Yeah, again, why should you give? We want to expedite the Great Commission. We want to serve the least of these unhindered. We want to multiply churches as well unhindered. And your continued gifts helps us to do this. But as you continue to give even more generously, it will help us, again, go into all the world with the gospel of Jesus Christ. It'll help us to be a church that is able to reach all nations with the gospel of Jesus Christ, right? Equip them to serve, and ultimately become a people that we're able to transform our communities, and not to mention our communities, but also the world. Again, I'm with Elder Marc. He's our financial director here at Commitment Church. And again, we just thank you so much for your time as we just answer the question, in short, why give?